Today, we're going to be talking about career fair prep, other networking sites, and networking events, as well as professionalism and making sure that we're putting our best foot forward. Our main topics of today will be what is the point of a career fair, first impressions and being professional, elevator pitches, and the importance of following up. The point of any career fair is essentially for practice and to explore the different organizations and companies that are out there that are in the process of hiring. So when we're at career fairs, this is essentially a networking event where you want to make sure that you are putting your best foot forward, making sure that you are professional, and just getting to know the different organizations and the people who are at them. It helps, especially when we have been in Zoom for the past couple months or continuing to be online, to do things like in-person career fairs, even online career fairs. However, in-person career fairs give you an opportunity to interact with people in a more professional manner. And this can be daunting at times, definitely. But the more you get to practice at it and practice providing things like your resume and potentially your business card, this can get more and more comfortable, and then you'll be able to network better and better. Exploring what's out there is important as well. You can also look at things such as LinkedIn and Indeed that have online job listings. But the great thing about career fairs and meeting people in person is they might know things or people that you might not, and they can kind of guide you in the direction that you would actually like to go. Whereas things like Indeed and job listings online are very cut and dry, and you can't exactly have a conversation with them about your interests and kind of the direction you would like to go in your career path. So networking is always very important, especially in things like public health, because a lot of times nowadays, it's all about who you know, especially when it comes to getting job positions. So the more you can network, the more you can get your name out there and kind of understand what is available to you, the better. Let's start by discussing our resumes. Resumes are essentially your life and your experiences on a piece of paper. It's super important when you go to things like career fairs or other networking events or conferences so that you can easily hand out to potential careers or people or networking professionals, hiring managers, so that they can kind of get an understanding quickly of who you are and what you're all about and the experiences that you have had that could potentially prepare you for a job that they might have to offer. It's always good to have a in-person paper copy when you go to these different events, and also a virtual PDF copy in case you are doing something like sending an email or applying online. But making sure your resume is up to date, is nice and organized and neat, and is always very important. Resume usually is about 1 page. You want to limit your colors. Really, you should only be using black and white, maybe gray, but no crazy colors, just making sure that things are short and sweet. You have enough details that provide an example and explanation of the job that you have done or the education that you have received, and essentially making sure that your resume is showing off your expertise and your experience and your education. So when you are reviewing your resume, please make sure that it is about 1 page. It is clean. All the fonts, all the spacing are all organized, and it's all very symmetrical, because remember, this is part of putting your best foot forward and making sure that the documentation that you are providing reflects the professionalism that you will have in any career or any position. First impressions. So this is a quote that I love you never get a second chance at a first impression. I'm sure many of us have experienced meeting somebody who didn't quite give us a very good first impression, and our mind was made up about them without even going into more details than that first impression. And it can be very difficult to change someone's mind of someone else after having a poor first impression. So making sure that, again, we want to be putting our best foot forward when it comes to any networking or conference or meeting individuals that could potentially be a good network. Making sure that when we are putting our best foot forward and having those first impressions, that you are presenting yourself in a manner that is not only professional, but making sure that you are excited, that you are ready to learn, you are being polite and confident in your skills, and doing things like being mindful of your body language. So, for example, if you are talking to somebody and you are slouching, maybe you are yawning, looking around the room, not being present in the conversation, this indicates that you're not necessarily super interested in the topic that you might be discussing with this individual. And this is even very prevalent on Zoom. So the key to networking, and especially in the field of public health, again, is all about who you know. So making sure that you listen, you learn, you can be confident in expressing your experiences and being polite and eager to talk to whoever you might be discussing a career or a position or a program, whatever it may be, but ready again to put your best foot forward and make a good first impression. Part of that first impression is how you appear. So we want to make sure that any networking event or Zoom conference or whatever it may be, you are dressing for success. Setting a good first impression is very possible for any employer, but we want to make sure that we are presenting ourselves again in a professional manner. So on Zoom, things like keeping your camera on when you are having a discussion is very important. Trying your best to make sure you have some good internet connection. So hopefully you're not cutting out or get kicked out of a meeting or things like that. Be mindful of the angle that your camera is positioned, right? We don't want to make sure that the only thing that they are seeing are our eyebrows or our boogers up our nose. Making sure your angle is good and you can see your entire face. And this includes things like making sure you have some decent lighting, right? We want to make sure that they can see us, see our expressions and the excitement when we are discussing our skills and our experiences. That would make us a good fit for any job. And this goes for more than just conferences or online meetings, but also things like interviews. When we are doing online Zoom interviews, we want to make sure that we appear excited and ready to network and ready to show off what we've got to offer. And this includes dressing for success. So aloha shirts, nice hair done, making sure it looks like we really are trying to put our best foot forward. And you might, even if you're on Zoom, you might have pajama bottoms on and a button-up shirt or a nice blouse on, but at least from what they can see, you are fully dressed and ready to go and to have whatever discussion you may be having with them at that particular time. So I want to touch base on our elevator pitches. Hopefully you know a little bit about elevator pitches, but essentially what it is a basic introduction of who you are and what you are looking for out of the conversation that you are having at the moment. Elevator pitches are used for career fairs and networking events, but also things like interviews. Oftentimes, the very first question that you might get in an interview is, tell me about yourself. This is where your elevator pitch comes in. You want to obviously introduce yourself, who you are, maybe if you are getting a certain degree or how they can remember your name. You want to make sure that you can squeeze in an accomplishment or a passion of yours. Maybe you're interested in research or a particular field of public health. Maybe you're working on a project or have a really cool internship. Making sure that you elaborate on your unique experiences and your unique skills, so you're just not another average person. Then what do you want out of the conversation? Do you want to set up an interview with them? Do you want them to pass your name on to another person in their organization? Do you want to set up a coffee meeting with them? Tell them what you want out of this interaction. So an elevator pitch is about 30 seconds. So out of that 30 seconds, imagine yourself, you're walking into an elevator, and in the elevator is somebody that you've been trying to meet with for a while so that it can either push you forward in the career path that you would like, or they're a good network and asked who you are and what you want to contribute in the field of public health. And you have 30 seconds before the elevator gets down to the first floor. So what do you want them to know by the time you both get down to that first floor? So remember, elevator pitches are who you are, any major accomplishments or passions of yours, and what do you want out of that conversation? All right, so now it's your turn to practice. Elevator pitches, like interviewing or talking professionally, is all about practice. So take a couple minutes to write down some notes, jot down who you are and what are some of your goals and interests, and what you're excited about, what you want out of the conversation. And remember, you have about 30 seconds to get all of this information across to whomever you're talking about or talking to in the elevator. So make sure that you are practicing this in a mirror, with a dog, with a significant other, with your parents, whoever it may be, a roommate, whatever. But as long as you continue to practice and kind of understand the little bullet points, the better. It's very obvious if you memorize a script. So please do not memorize an elevator pitch, but instead try to memorize bullet points on what you would like to touch upon. This will help you make the elevator pitch a little bit more free-flowing and not so robotic and memorized. So take some time, pause the video or pause the slides wherever you may be, and start practicing your elevator pitch, because I 100% guarantee you, you will be utilizing it one way or another. Another point that I would like to emphasize is the importance of following up. So this is great after any career fair or people that you might have met, or especially in an interview, but following up to show some gratitude and the excitement that you are to meet with these people or have met with this individual is always very important. And it also helps to make you a little bit more memorable in their head. So following up could be something as simple as sending a quick email, picking up the phone and leaving a voicemail, just saying, hey, thanks so much for meeting with me today. I really had a good time talking about the program that you are getting started with your organization. I would love to learn more about this program on an interview or a coffee meeting. If you are available at this time, please let me know. Something that just helps them remember, oh yeah, I did talk about that program with this individual. Oh, great, they seem pretty excited. It's very easy and it's a very, very important step. So don't forget, whatever interaction you might be doing at a networking event, a career fair, especially after an interview, you always want to follow up. Continuing with following up and the importance of doing so. This, again, can be something as easy as shooting a quick email over to the hiring manager or the person you had just met, or the person behind the booth at the career fair that you just went to that morning. In your follow-up email, it will usually have 3 components. including a quick thank you, like a quick gratitude. Hey, I really appreciated the time you spent with me today. Thank you so much for having this interview. Some kind of common ground reference. I appreciated talking to you about this and this program at such and such organization or site. That way, with a common ground reference, they'll understand, oh, right, that was that person. Because maybe if they're at a career fair or if you're at an interview and there's a bunch of people who have applied, they need to kind of figure out a way to differentiate you out of the rest of the bunch. And any key takeaways. So whether that's asking them to set up an interview or when can I hear back about this position, or something that will, again, you want something out of the email or the interaction that you just had with them. I look forward to hearing from you to see whether the position is available. Please contact me at blah, blah, blah.edu or by calling me at blah, blah, blah phone number. So whenever you're doing a quick follow-up, especially if you're doing an email, which is usually very simple and very quick, you always want to follow up with these three components. Here's an example of a template that you can find online that helps you out with a follow-up email. So within this email, you have the three components. It was a pleasure to meet you. So that is your thank you component, some sort of common ground, so something that they talked about, and then a key takeaway. So making sure that you, and again, there are other templates out there, but essentially you want to make sure that all three of those components that we had just previously talked about are included within your follow-up email. So key takeaways. So wrapping up today's conversation about career fairs and professionalism is career fairs and other networking events and conferences, they're there to help you practice. Especially as a student, please take advantage of any career fairs that the school has to offer, because you are a student, everyone knows that you're going to be a student there, and so you're just going to be practice passing out your resume, potentially a business card, and making small talk with people who are hiring managers behind the booth. Practice makes, so maybe not perfect, but it makes things better. Making sure that you're setting a good first impression. So please keep it classy, make sure you're dressed for success, and again, you're putting your best foot forward. I know I keep saying that, but I'm trying to hone it in. Putting your best foot forward, and those key first impressions are always very essential to any networking. Make sure you get your elevator pitch down. Your elevator pitch will come up 100%, whether that's an interview, a quick interaction, whatever it may be. So take the time to practice your elevator pitch. Remember who you are, some of your interests, and what do you want out of the conversation. And finally, do not forget to follow up. Please don't forget this important step. This is very simple, and normally you want to follow up within 24 hours of the interview or of the interaction that you just had with this individual. Following up demonstrates your excitement for the position or excitement to learn more and network, and therefore it could really make or break your networking experience. So don't forget to follow up, and don't forget to remember your elevator pitch. That is gonna come up definitely.